create strong access control policy that controls the traffic between parts of the network. So like we have over here, we have a local area network that's going to be a zone. So let's go ahead and make a cool custom shape. We're going to add color of green. There we go. Copy this, select background color is going to be the same color. Square, that's good. So this square right here is going to represent the inside zone. That's what we're going to call it. So we can go ahead and we can add a text. Let's call it inside. Let's make this bigger, make this bold. There we go. Inside. So right now, like I said before, security zones lets you create a strong access control policy that controls the traffic between parts of the network. So right now, the inside zone is one part of the network. Another zone that we are going to be adding, we can just go ahead and duplicate this. That is fine. Oh, did it duplicate it? Right click, duplicate. There we go. We can go ahead and make it the outside zone, which is going to be the zone in between the two firewalls. Let's make it bigger. We can go ahead and edit it, and we can go ahead and make it a little bit reddish color because it is going to be the outside zone. So it is a danger zone basically. Okay, let's go ahead and make this red over here. Select, save it. Okay, so now we can go ahead and copy this and duplicate it as well, and we can go ahead and change this to, we are going to call it the outside zone. All right, so we have the outside, we have the inside zone that we're going to be creating. We can go ahead and duplicate this one and basically just move this one over here, and this one is going to be also called the inside zone. And in another video we are going to be adding another one, which is going to be the DMZ zone. So this right here, let's make this right here, inside, outside, inside. So a security zone object represents part of the network. So the local area network is going to be the inside, the outside of the external network is going to be the outside zone. That's what I'm going to name it. You can name it whatever you want, and you can assign a network interface like Ethernet 0 is going to be assigned to the inside zone, right? And you can use then use the security zone objects in the source and destination columns for the security policy. So what I can now do after I create those security zones and assign it to a interface, so I'm going to assign it to interface 0, it's going to be the inside, and the outside is going to be Ethernet 1. Then after that, what we could do is that we can create policy based on zones instead of just based on IP address. So that's what we are going to be doing. That's how security zones are implemented. And then in another video, we are going to create, like I said, a DMZ zone. So let's go ahead and go to the Windows device. I log in incorrectly. Let's go ahead and log out. And you're going to sign in HTML5. Always remember that. Let's go ahead and just save it. Okay. Let's go ahead and open the Windows device. HTML5. Let's go ahead and log into it. Forgot. There we go. So we are going to log into the Windows device. We are going to create a zone for the inside and a zone for the outside. And this one is only going to go for this checkpoint gateway. later on we can just go ahead and create it for checkpoint gateway number 2. But we are just going to do it for the gateway number 1. So what we want to do is we want to open Smart Console, and we are going to log into the management server at 10.1.1.2. So I'll go ahead and enter your password to log in to 10.1.1.2. So now we are logged in and everything got loaded. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into the checkpoint gateway number 1, which is this one right here. And this one is in the gateways and servers. So we are going to double click on it so we can open the options that we can modify on it. And then we are going to go to network management. And on network management is where you're going to be able, let me see, network management, get interfaces. Why can I see the interfaces? There we go. Accept the interfaces. So if you don't see any interfaces, you can just go ahead and say get interfaces with topology if you want to. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to edit, let's see, Ethernet 0. So we can go ahead and edit that. And inside right here, as you can see, security zone, there is non-security zone. So we are going to modify this. And what we're going to be doing is we are going to specify a security policy. And by default, you can see that the checkpoint firewall has some predefined security zones. One is a wireless. We have an external, a DMZ zone, and an internal zone as well down here that you can use. But what I want to do, I just want to create my own security zone, and I'm going to name this just inside. We are going to press OK. And we are going to, as you can see, user define specify security zone to the inside. So let's go ahead and press OK. So as you can see that 10.1.1.3, the inside right here, Ethernet 0 is going to be assigned to the inside zone. Press OK. Now we want to go to Ethernet 1. You can either double click or you can just press on edit. We are going to modify it, and we are going to create another security zone, which is going to be the outside. You can name it whatever you want, but I want to name it the outside. Press OK. OK and OK. So after that is done, we have modified and we added those security zones to those interfaces, and you can add multiple interfaces to a single zone. Okay, but you can add multiple zones to one interface. Just remember that. And now we are going to go to security policies, and we are going to create a new security policy above the cleanup rule. So this one right here, we are going to, if you select it, we are going to then add a rule above it. And let's see, we have the management traffic. So let's go ahead and say, let's go ahead and name it inside to outside. And the source, now we're not going to specify a IP address or an object. What we are going to specify, we are going to specify a security zone. So we are going to go ahead and add it, a new one, and you can see recently used, or you can just scroll down and look for it if you want to. So it's going to be from the inside to the destination of outside. So what I'm saying right now is that if it is coming from the inside, which is Ethernet 0 right now, and if it's going to Ethernet 1, which is the outside zone, and if it is HTTPS, press, or if it is DNS, we can add also DNS. Press enter DNS. Go ahead and add it. Or if it is even HTTP, we can add HTTP. We are going to action is to allow, or in CheckPoint is to accept, and we want to log this traffic so we can see that we are matching that rule. So what's going to happen is we are going to test it from this computer, from this Windows 10 computer. So if we take a look at that, it is going to be matched at the management traffic gateway number 2. Let me see if it's going from network to out HTTP. So what we could do is, saying it's going to be matched at rule number 2 right now, what we could do is we can go ahead and disable that, because it is going to be matched at rule number 2 and it's not going to get to rule number 4. So let's go ahead and right click on it. If you right click on it, you can go ahead and disable it for now, because we want it to match at rule number 4. Because remember, the security policies are read from top to bottom, and if this one doesn't match, this one is not going to match, right? Because this one is going to gateway 1, but this one it was going to match. So it was going to stop there and it's going to allow it, and then it was not going to get to this one over here. And also I believe this one is coming from CPM. No, this one is the management server. So this one is not going to well, it is going to match, but this one is just specifying the management server, so it is fine. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and publish. And now you need to be careful on this one when you go and install it, because we only want to install it on the gateway 1. Remember, we added gateway 2 and gateway 1 are both in this management server. So what we need to do is, when you go to install the policy, you need to specify where you want to install this policy. So if you go to policy targets, you want to if you search for it, there is the gateway number 2. If you have both of them in here, you want to go ahead and remove the gateway number 2, and you just want to send it to CheckPoint gateway number 1. So press OK. Install that policy. And there we go. My security policy has been successfully installed on CPW. If you go ahead and CheckPoint gateway number 1, only CheckPoint gateway number 1. That's how you want it. You don't want to install it on CheckPoint gateway number 2, because we have not configured any zones on that gateway just yet. So as you can see right now, so what's going to happen if any computer in the inside zone, which is basically anything connected to Ethernet 0, going to the outside, which is this zone over here, the outside, what it's going to do is, if it is HTTPS, DNS, HTTP, it is going to accept it, and it's also going to log that traffic. So let's see if that is correct. Let's go ahead and open Edge, and let's go ahead and go to HTTPS 20.1.1.20.1.1.2, and there we go. Continue. And we were able to get to 20.1.1.2 because of this rule right here, or the security policy that we created. So if we go ahead and refresh the logs, there's no logs over here. Let me verify this. So this one was a 647. The origin, no. Did it match this one? I don't think it did. No. It has to be this one. There we go. So we just refreshed and now it is here. You can see that the log says that we went from 10.1.1.1, which is this computer, and we went to CheckPoint gateway number 2 at 20.1.1.2, and the service that we used was HTTPS TCP port number 443. And you can see right here, the access rule was from inside to outside. So that's how you're able to create a security policy with security zones. Hello, in this video we are going to go over time-based policies. So what a time-based policy is that, let's say that we have a rule that we want to establish only to allow traffic from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. You can do that. You can create a security policy, and you can add a time object to that security policy, and you can just specify that you just want this policy to be accepted during a time frame. And if the connection is, let's say that it is from 1 to 5 p.m., right? And if somebody got connected at 4:59 p.m. and it goes past that 5 p.m. Time frame, it is still going to stay connected. That's something that I know you're probably going to ask. That's what's going to happen. If somebody gets connected at 4:59 and gets past the 5 p.m. time frame, it's not going to get disconnected. You're still going to get connected, but the thing is that you won't be able to get connected back again. So let's go ahead and create that. We are going to go to our Windows device. We are going to go to the Smart Console. So the way that you create a security object or a security based on time is by going into objects. So we are going to create 2 time objects. That's how we tell that security policy to only be enabled for the time that we want to specify. So we are going to add 2 time objects. So you can go to time objects if you want to. You can just create a new. You can go ahead and more time over here. So we are going to say that this one is going to be from 0 to 12. So from midnight to 12 p.m. or noon. So that is a time. That is basically just the title that I want to give it. Now to specify that when you want to start, you want to start immediately. You can add a start time and an end time with a date and also a time. But all I want to do is I want it to be recurring. So every day at midnight all the way to 12. And remember, this is going to be military time. So if we do 12 over here, so this is going to go from midnight to 12 p.m. You can also add another. You can add 3 more or 2 more hour ranges if you want to, but I wanted just to give 1. If you want to do this daily, days in the week that you want to specify, you can go ahead and do this. If you only want it on Sunday and Monday and Thursday, you can specify whatever you want. Or days in the month, you can also do that. Whatever days in the month you want to do it, you can go ahead and do that. But I wanted this to be a daily. I want it to be run every day. So from 0 to 12, and we specified over here. Good. So now we're going to create another one from 12 to 11:59. So let's go ahead and go in type object. If you go to the objects, you can even right click from here, shortcut, create a new time. This one is going to be from 12 to 24. We are going to leave this as a default. We are going to specify over here that it is going to be run from 12 to, let's say, 11:59, or not 11:59, 23:59, and it's going to be every day. Press OK, and there we go. So now we need to go ahead and specify it in our policy, in the security policy. So since this traffic is also basically the same as this one, because this one is going to be going from the network 10.1.1.0, which is basically the inside zone, basically the same thing, to the checkpoint gateway 2 out and HTTPS. So they are both rules. This rule will be matched, and this also could be matched if the number 2 is disabled. So we are going to go ahead and enable this rule, and we are going to add a time. So the way that you can do that is if you go up here and if you right click on it, you can go ahead and add and remove whatever you want. So we are going to go ahead and add the time, and you can see the time over here. So we are going to specify a time for this management traffic gateway 2, and we are going to add it from 0 to 12, and then for the inside to outside, which is basically the same. And what's going to happen that this one is going to work from midnight to noon, and then the other one is going to work from noon to basically midnight, right? So we are going to go ahead and leave it like that. Log is working, so we can see where the traffic, which one is going to be accepted based on time. Okay, so we can go ahead and publish. Then we are going to install the policy. And you need to make sure that we're only going to be installing it on the CheckPoint Gateway 1. If you go to policy targets, making sure that we only have one over here. That is good. Let's go ahead and install it. There we go. My policy has been installed. So that is great. Now let's go ahead and go to from my management computer, which is 10.1.1.1. I'm going to go to 20.1.1.2 if we want to. There we go. So that traffic was allowed. So let's see which one was the security policy that was hit. So if we go to this one, let's see if it was anything that was hit. This one at 6:47 was the last one. Let's go ahead and go. So this one at 6:47 p.m. So you know that it is 6. So what's going to happen is that this one is the one that's going to be hit because of the time. You can see right here, 6:26, and this one was hit at 6:47. So let's go ahead and try it again. Let's go ahead and close it. Let's go ahead and open it again. Let's go ahead and open it again so we can produce more traffic. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the checkpoint. Let's go ahead and refresh and see if that moves up from 6:47. So it's still 6:47. Let's go ahead and go to the inside to outside. And you can see that this one went, still says 6:27. Refresh, still says 6:27. So which one was the one that was matched? 6:27. Or this one over here that was based on the time, 6:47. So this one was hit twice, 6:47 and 6:47 p.m. 6:47 and 6:47 p.m. Let's go ahead and go to the page. Let's go ahead and try it again and see if it goes up. So we have 6:47. Making sure that it goes through. Continue. Refresh. 6:47. What about this one? 6:29. So you can see right now that the one that was hit was the inside to outside, because it says 6:27 or 6:29 p.m. It used to say 6:27. So this one went up and this one did not go up. That's because this it is based on time. So since it is now from midnight to 12 p.m., then this one was hit because this one is from 12 to 24. So this one is the one that's going to be hit. But if you want to go ahead and change that, you can go ahead and select this time object, move it over here, and then we are going to move this one over here. And you can go ahead and remove the 12 to 24, and we are going to remove the 02 to 12. There we go. So now we put 12 to 24 and this one midnight to noon. So now we are going to go ahead and save it, and the one that's going to be hit is going to be number 2 now. It's not going to be number 4 because number 2 is going to match that time that we are in, which is 48, I believe it is, in this management server, and also the security gateway. So let's go ahead straight and install this policy. So the security policy was installed. So now, since we switched the times, like I said before, now the security policy number 2 is the one that's going to hit, and it's not going to be number 4, because remember, they read the security policy from top to bottom. So it's going to be from number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So since this one is going to match first, this one is going to be the one, because it matches the time. But if the time was not going to be matched and another one was going to be matched, then that one was going to go on. So let's go ahead and we can go ahead and close this browser and go ahead and open the shortcut again. And we can go ahead and do it again, so we can see more traffic. And again, great. So now let's go ahead and go to the Smart Console. Let's go ahead and go to management traffic number 2. We can go ahead and go and refresh, and you're going to see right here that we have some traffic, and we see it at 6:32 right now. This one says yesterday because the time on my Windows device is all messed up, but 6:32 and 6:31 we access it from 10.1.1.1, which is this device, to 20.1.1.2, which is the checkpoint on gateway number 2. And if we go to the inside, you're going to see that there was no match over here. You can see it is stayed at 6:30, and this one is 6:32 and 6:32, and another one at 6:31. So that's how you are able to configure time-based policies. Hello guys, so in this video we are going to go ahead and create sections and also inline basically inline layers that we are going to be creating, and it is all going to make sense when you see what I'm going to be making. So the first one that I want to do is I want to create a section for the management. I want to create a section that is going to be called the management section. So in there, if you collapse sections, let's go ahead and right click on it, and let's go ahead and create a new section title above this one, and we are going to name this section management, so we can go ahead and organize it. So the management section, press enter. Great. So another section that we want to do is we are going to call this the HQ traffic. So let's go ahead and create another rule, and this one is going to be over here. So we are going to right click on it, and if you place another section above it, this one is going to be called the headquarters. Yeah, let's call it headquarters traffic. And another one which is going to be below, this one is going to be called the cleanup section. So inside this section we are able to have security rules, and we can also create inline rules, security rules that we're going to be doing. So the first one that I want to do is I want to go ahead and create which is basically is going to be the parent, and the parent is going to be called, I'm going to go ahead and rename this policy, and this policy is going to be renamed to just management policy. Press enter. Right, so inside here what we want to do is from the host, that's good. Then I want to also add the checkpoint management, which is this one, and I want to allow to the destination of checkpoint gateway 1 and also checkpoint gateway 2. There we go. So I want to allow traffic to any. So we can go ahead and remove this one. And we want to go ahead and accept that traffic. And the action, let's go ahead and this one, let's go ahead and right click on it. Okay, show logs, copy image. We are going to add a, let's go on top over here, add a rule below, collapse. Let's go ahead and navigate to section, actions. What we want you to do is create a, and the way that you do that is by going to the action. So the action is going to call to the, basically the sub security policy. So if you right click on it, inline layer, new layer. So that's going to create a new layer. So we can say, call this inline rules for management, MGT. And over here, you can specify where you want it. I just want it in the firewall, and the permission. If you want to add or remove users from here to be able to see this rule, you can go ahead and add that. But we are going to leave this as default. Press OK. So that's going to create a new inline rule. You can see right now it is the cleanup rule right now. But let's go ahead and move this one to the inline. So if you select it and add it on top, it is going to add it over here. So for this one, we can go ahead and remove this. Let's go ahead and leave this cleanup rule for now. I'm going to be removing it. So let's see how can we do this. We are going to add a, for this one, we can go ahead and just rename this one over here. We are going to call it inline rule for management, MGT. So this one then is going to be for the management host, which is 10.1.1.1 right here. We can go ahead and remove this network because we are not going to be using it. And this one is going to go to the checkpoint gateway 2 and also to the checkpoint firewall 1. If you want to remove this one and add the other object, you can also go ahead and do that, so we can keep it the same. There we go. That's good. And I want to allow HTTPS, and also let's go ahead and add SSH. And we are going to accept the traffic. We can go ahead and remove this time because we're not going to be using it anymore. We can also go ahead and remove the time title. Done. So right now we have this rule, this new rule that we just added, and we want to log it. For this one over here, we don't have the option to log it, because what happened is if it matches, what's going to happen is that if it matches the management parent, then it is going to go down and see the basically the sub policies. So if it matches this, it's going to go to the sub policy. If it doesn't matches the first one, right? If it doesn't matches the first one, the parent one, then it's going to move on to the other parent policy. So that's how it works. So we are going to continue and keep modifying this. So the next one is going to be the one for the checkpoint management. So we can go ahead and move this one on top of the cleanup rule. So if you select it and hold it and move it on top, now it is a inline, so it is a sub policy that we have created now. So we can, this one is going to be management to gateway 2. That's fine. and it's going to, let's go ahead and remove this one and add the other object so we can keep it the same so we don't get confused. So we are going to say checkpoint 2. Great, so we are going to leave it any traffic, because remember we need to pull that so we are able to add it, to add this basically to add this gateway to the management server. So any, we are going to accept it. That's good. The cleanup rule, we are going to leave it, and we just want to log it. Log. So what's going to happen is whenever something matches the parent one, so the parent one says that if any traffic coming from these, if it's the source is the management host and it's going to either the checkpoint 1 or checkpoint 2, or the management server to checkpoint 1 or checkpoint 2, it is going to go ahead and read the sub policies, right? And if it doesn't match this, and if it doesn't match this, it is going to hit the cleanup rule. But if it doesn't match the parent rule, it is going to move on to the other parent rule. So that's how this is going to work, guys. Moving on, now we are going to do another layer, or in, it is called the, if you right click on the action, the inline layer. So we are going to add a new layer over here so we can do it just the same as the management, and this one is going to be called user traffic inline layer. Like I said before, the permission, if you want to remove and add those permissions so they're able to see it, you can go ahead and do that, but we are going to leave everything as default, and that's going to create just the same as we did for the management. Inline layer is basically creating sub policy. So let's go ahead and put this down so we don't see it, so we have more space to work with. So we want to add a new policy, so let's go ahead and add a new one above this 2.1. so let's go ahead and say above, and let's go ahead and add one for let's call it just web, and the source, it is going to be from inside, because that's what is matching. Let's see if we see inside. There we go, the inside security zone to the outside. See if we can find outside. There we go, over here. And if it is for either HTTP or HTTPS, so let's add HTTP and also HTTPS because it's web, for web services. We want to go ahead and allow that traffic, accept it, and we want to go ahead and track it. Great, so we have that. Then we can go ahead and add also DNS. So let's go ahead and add another rule and place it above the cleanup rule. So remember, you always need to have a cleanup rule for every parent and sub interface that you do. You always need to have that cleanup rule, right? And the other one is going to be DNS. Going from inside, you can go ahead and search it. Going from inside to outside. This one over here. What's going to be the services or application? DNS, because that's our DNS rule. What do we want to do? We want to go ahead and accept that traffic, and we do want to log it. There we go. For the cleanup rule, it's going to be drop, and we also want to log this traffic. Great. Now we also have two cleanup rules. So what we could do, we can go ahead and drop this cleanup rule and add it to the cleanup rule section down here. If it doesn't let you do it, can we, okay, let's go ahead and just delete it, and let's go ahead and create a new one. We are going to a new rule below. So if you right click on the section, and you can add a new rule below, and we are just going to call this a cleanup rule. So any source, any destination, any services and applications, we are going to drop it, and we also want to log it. Great. So as you can see, let's also go ahead and remove this, the parent ones. We want to remove this because we want to specify any. There we go. So now let's go ahead and collapse everything. So what's going to happen is, if a traffic is going to basically the management policy, so if it is going to, if it matches that is going from, right, from the source of the management host, which is 10.1.1.1, to the checkpoint 1 or the checkpoint gateway 2, it is going to go ahead and read the sub interface. And it's also, if it's coming from the checkpoint management to the checkpoint gateway 1 or gateway 2, it is also going to read these sub interfaces over here. Not sub interfaces, sorry for that. The sub security policies. So then it's going to read the number one matches. Good, it's going to accept it. Number 2, if number 1 doesn't match and number 2 matches, good, then it's going to accept that that policy. Also, we do not need to add the we don't need to add, for this one, we don't need to add these the other basically the other firewall for this one, because this one is just for the checkpoint gateway number 2. So if it's going from the checkpoint management server to the checkpoint gateway number 2, if it's any, it's going to accept and it's going to log it. So if something matches that is coming from any of these sources, and if it doesn't match any of the sub interfaces, is going to go to a cleanup rule, and it's going to go ahead and drop it. Now, if it doesn't matches this parent policy, what's going to happen is not going to read the sub interfaces, and it's going to move on to the other section and to the other parent over here. And if it matches from inside to outside, inside zone to the outside zone, and if it is any, then it's going to go ahead and read. The action is to go ahead and read, as you can see right here. It's going to read the user's traffic inline layer, which is either the web, so HTTP, HTTPS, coming from the inside zone to the outside zone. It's going to go ahead and accept it if it is HTTP or HTTPS, right? And then it's going to go ahead and log that traffic. Also, if it is a DNS, right? If it's going from the zone inside to the outside zone, if it is a DNS application or services, it is going to go ahead and accept the traffic, and it's going to log it. If it doesn't matches anything, it is going to go ahead and go to the cleanup rule. Now, if it doesn't match the management section or the management policy, or if it doesn't match the headquarter traffic, then it is going to go to the cleanup section, which is basically to go ahead and drop that traffic and log it at the end. So that's how it is going to work. And now let's go ahead and install this policy, and we are going to install this policy only in the checkpoint gateway number 1. We are not going to install it in the checkpoint gateway number 2, because we are going to do that on another video. I'm going to show you how to do that. There we go. We are going to go ahead and install it. There you go. The security policy has been installed in the checkpoint gateway number 1. So that's good. So let's go ahead and test this traffic. So what is going to happen is that I'm going to go to, from this computer right here, which is the management computer, we are going to connect to 20.1.1.2. And which one do you think is going to match? It's going to match the management. It's going to match the management policy. And it's going to go, the action is that you want it, that it is going to send it to the inline rules for management. So it's going to go to this one. It's going to read it. So if it matches 10.1.1.1, right? So we're coming from 10.1.1.1 to 20.1.1.2. Let's see. So 20.1.1.2 over here. So it's going to match this policy, and it's going to log the traffic. So let's go ahead and go to that shortcut that I created. Go to checkpoint gateway number 2. You can go ahead and go to continue. That's fine. So now let's go ahead and go to the Smart Console and let's see what happens. So like I said, it is going to match this rule right here. Let's go ahead and refresh the logs. And there we go, 6:56 p.m. And it matched. The origin was from the checkpoint gateway number 1, coming from the host of 10.1.1.1 to the checkpoint gateway number 2 at 20.1.1.2 HTTPS traffic. So that matched that rule. As you can see right now, we organize everything with section. If you want to go ahead and put this up, you can go ahead and do that, so you can make it a little bit clean. You can go ahead and do that. And it looks and now it looks a lot better than before. Before we just have rules and policies everywhere, but now since we have sections, and in those sections we added the parent, then we added the sub policies, and there we go. So that's how you are able to do the parent policies, and they call it the children's policy, or the sub policies in here. Hello guys, in this video we are going to go over how multiple users are able to make changes to the checkpoint firewall. And for that, as you can see, I added another Windows device and I gave it an IP address of 10.1.1.4. And if you go to that Windows device, you can see that I also downloaded Smart Console. So you want to go ahead and download Smart Console for that. So what happened is that the way that two different users are able to make change to the from the management server is by using that publish that publish button that the checkpoint has. And whenever somebody makes a change, you're going to see a little it's like a pen or a pencil, and it's going to tell you that somebody has made a change to that settings. And whenever you see a lock, it is because somebody has a lock on it, because it is making a change, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Like I told you guys, I made this Windows device 10.1.1.4 IP address, downloaded Smart Console to this new device. So let's go ahead and go to the other device, the one that we have been using, the 10.1.1.1. And what we want to do is let's go ahead and let's go ahead and log into Smart Console. Also, let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger. View, large icons. Let's go ahead and go to display settings. If you go to display settings, you can go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. I'm expanded my the display, so I have to make this a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and go to advanced text and advanced sizing and of text. It is 12, so that is good. So why is it? It's just, I think it's just too big. Let's go ahead and make it 19 and 1900 by 1200. I think that should look a little bit better, a little bit decent, if it ever gets there. Here we go. Let's go ahead and keep the changes. I think that should be a lot better. Yep, that's a lot better. So now let's go ahead and go ahead and log in to the Smart Console. And the first thing that we want to do is that we want to go ahead and create a new account. So we are able to log in from this computer, Windows device, and then from this other Windows device. So we are going to create a new user. And to create a new user, we are going to go to Manage and Settings from the Smart Console. You can see that we are logged in as admin. You can see it down here. You can see we only have one user, which is admin. So we want to go ahead and press this button over here so we can go ahead and create a new one. The name that I want to give it is going to be OX for X. If you want to do a password, either the checkpoint password, undefined, the OS password. OS means the Gaia. So if we had a user in Gaia, which the name was Ox, it was going to use the same password as that user that was configured in Gaia. But since we are making one from the checkpoint, we are going to select checkpoint. If you want to do like a one-time password secure ID, you can do that. If you have a radio server or attack a server, you can also get it from there, but we are going to set it to CheckPoint. Let's go ahead and set a new password. There we go. And let's go ahead and uncheck this because we don't want to change your password the next logon. Password does not match. Let me see. Did I miss something? They do not match. Let's go ahead and try it again. There we go. Now they're matched. If you want to create a certificate, we don't want to do that. Now down here, permission profile. If you want it, select to just read only all, read and write, or if you want to have super user, I want it to be a super user. So let's go ahead and press super user. And you can see, if you want to see what permissions this profile is going to have by being a super user, you can go ahead and press this eye icon over here. And if you want to set this expiration, if you want to set it to expire, you go ahead and do that as well. So let's go ahead and press OK. And one other thing that we want to do, as you can see right here, the admin one is coming from the OS password, because this admin user, we created this from the CLI, right, of the CheckPoint or the CPW. If you remember, that's why it says OS password, but this one is the CheckPoint password, which means it's a smart console password that we just set up. And one thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and allow 10.1.1.4 to be able to reach CPGW. So we need to go ahead and add it to the security policy, because if you can take a look at the management policy, if you expand it, you can see that the first rule only allows the 10.1.1.1. So we want to allow 10.1.1.4 to be able to reach either CPGW2 or CPGW1. So let's go ahead and add that. And let's go ahead and just create a new one, and it's going to be a new host, and we are going to call it management host 2, IP address 10.1.1.4. Press OK. Let's go ahead and install this policy. Publish. You can see now that new policy has been installed. So that is cool. So now, since we created that new user account, we want to log in to that user account from this Windows device. So let's go ahead and log into the other Windows, to the Smart Console. Remember, you need to download it and install it. So you need to go to 10.1.1.2, which is the management server, and you want to install the Smart Console into this new Windows device, which I already did. So 10.1.1.2. Let's go ahead and connect to that server, which is the management server, the same way that we connect to from this Windows device. It's just the same way, but in this instance, we are using the different account. You can see that it's telling me the fingerprints, so that is great. So we go. Now we are logged in into the management server using the Smart Console, and we did it from this device. And you can see, if you go to the bottom right, you can see that we are connected as Ox. That's the username that we created. And if you go ahead and select this, you can see that we have another user. We are logging as Ox, but in another computer, somebody somewhere is also connected as admin. So if you go and press more details, you are going to be able to see what's going on. So we are logged in as Ox at 10.1.1.4, and you can see that we have another user that is that it is logged in as admin at 10.1.1.4, 10.1.1.1, and it has the connection of read and write. So it's going to be able to make changes using the Smart Console, no locks and no changes. So now what we want to do is we want to go to the admin, where we are logging as admin, and we want to make some changes, and let's see what happens. So if you go ahead and go to the other Windows device, to the policy, what we want to do is we're going to say that if you go ahead and press session, session name, you can just go ahead and say test. We are going to make rename manage pro to management policy. So that's the way that if you want to go ahead and name the session or what you are going to be making in this session, you go ahead and just name it and put it like that. So we are going to be renaming the management policy to management PO to management policy. So that's what is going to happen in this session. So let's go ahead and go to management pro to management PO, and we are going to be renaming this to management policy. Press enter. As you can see, we have edited. So right now we have a basically like a pen or pencil that it is there now. So if we go to the other device where we are logging as Oxcar, right, Ox, and if you can see now that we have one log and one change made by that user, right? So if you want to go ahead and see what he has done, you can go ahead and go to the security policy, and we are going to see which one he made the change to, right? And if you go over here, we are logging as the other user, which is Oxcar or OX. You can see that it has a locked, which means that it was locked for editing by the admin, and it was locked for deletion by the admin. So you can see that locked, which means that somebody else is editing this. But if you go to the other, to the one whoever is making the change, you are going to see a pen or pencil, which means that has been edited by me. Okay. So if we go back to the Windows device, so since there is a lock, you can go ahead and go to admin. You can go ahead and go to this button down here. You can see what somebody else has a lock or changes, which means that we won't be able to make changes. So since this guy is editing right now, me right here who's trying to make changes won't be able to do so because this admin over here is making a change which he named test, as you can see down here. So locks and changes. So he has made one. The admin has one locked and it has one change that he has made. So what happens if I try to, let's go ahead and go to the security policy. Well, let's see. Nothing. Let's go ahead and go to no changes. So it won't let me do anything from here. So what we could do is, if we want to make changes in that admin, let's say he went home and he forgot to put in that policy. So since we cannot do anything from this username Ox, which is OX, what we could do is we can right click on it. If that person like left to go home and need to make some changes, the way that you could do is by going down here, right, like I did, more details, and it's going to open this window. So you're going to see who is the one that has a lock. You can see that it is the admin user and it has made one change. So what you could do, either you can just publish and disconnect, discard or disconnect, or just disconnect or just take over. So let's just go ahead and do a publish and disconnect. So we are going to publish the changes that the admin made, so we can go ahead and take over from there. There you go, we have taken over. So now there is no lock or anything, so I am able to go to the gateways and security. I'm able to go anywhere and I'm able to change anything, anything I want, right? So if we go back to the other computer, you're going to see that my session was taken over by administrator Oscar and he just kicked me out. So that's how we could have multiple users make changes at the same time, because whenever somebody's making a change, like in this video, you saw that the Ox user could not make any changes because the admin made a change and did not publish it yet, and then he left for the day and I had to make some changes, so I just took over and logged them out, and then I should be able to make some changes. So that's how we are able to, or CheckPoint is able to manage who is, if somebody's making a change, it just locks so the other users cannot make a change. and that lock was going to go away until it was published by either the user or by another user, or override or discard or discard by the other user. So that's how, you know, we are able to work, or multiple users are able to work and make changes to the firewall at the same time. In this video, we are going to go ahead and take a look at how to basically publish the policies to both firewalls. At this time, we are only publishing the policies to the gateway number 1. Gateway number 2 does not have any, and you can verify that if you go ahead to one of the Windows devices and you can log into the Smart Console. And if you go to gateways and servers, you can see that we have both firewalls. You can see that we have gateway 1. So if we select gateway 1, you can see that the access control policy was last installed. You can see the date and the time. You can see the OS and all that. But if we go ahead and go to number 2, you can see that we don't have any. There's nothing in there. If you go back to number 1, you can see the access control policy that is in place. So if you want to go ahead and security policies, and you can see that we have multiple policies in here. We have multiple sections as well. And if you go ahead and expand the first one, you can see that we have one that specifies the management policy. So if management host, and also we need to also add management host 2, but we're not really going to do that now. So management policy is going to from 10.1.1.1 to CPGW2, so the checkpoint gateway number 2, or checkpoint gateway number 1. So this policy is really not going to apply to the gateway number 2 because it is actually coming from 10.1.1.1. And if you go ahead and take a look at our topology, you can see that 10.1.1.1 is over here. So it is not going to match 10.1.2.0 network. So therefore, this policy doesn't really apply to it doesn't apply to the gateway number 2. So we could do over here, we can go ahead and go to the install on policy targets, and we can go ahead and select just to install it on gateway number 1 because it only makes sense for gateway number 1. Let's go ahead and go over here, gateway number 1. Gateway number 1. That's where I want it to be installed on only. And for this one, gateway number 1. Actually, on my traffic will be dropped and not log. Let's go ahead and just leave it as standard. That's fine. So this one is only going to really be for gateway number 1. Let's go ahead and expand the headquarters traffic policy or section. So you can see right now that going from inside to outside. Inside, it is only specifying a zone, and this one they are only specifying a zone. So we can actually leave this as policy targets. Policy targets will let you, whenever you go ahead and do publish and install. After you do the publish and then you do the install policy, whenever you select the install policy, it is going to ask you where you want to install it. So therefore, it's going to allow you to install it on whatever you want to install it. So if you want to check checkpoint gateway number 1 and number 2, you can go ahead and do that, or number 3, number 4, all of them, whatever you want. All right. So since we want to go ahead and do a policy targets, we can go ahead and leave it like that for just both of them. So therefore, since this one doesn't really specify, it only specifies a zone, but it doesn't specify an IP address. Since for the management one, specify an IP address, and that IP address belongs to the internal zone, or the internal network, or the LAN, the local area network for the checkpoint number 1. Then we don't really need to do that. We don't need to install it on checkpoint gateway number 2 because it doesn't match for that firewall. So what we could do, let's go ahead and leave it like that. And for the HQ traffic, we can go ahead and specify where we want to install it. So let's go ahead and go straight to install this policy. It's going to ask me to publish. Let's go ahead and publish first, and then it's going to ask me to install it, and I'm going to install it in both of them. So when we specify that we want to install it on both of them, what's going to happen is that anything that says policy targets, it is going to install it on both of them. If one is just selected to say like this 3 right here, it is saying for checkpoint gateway number 1, then it's only going to install it on checkpoint number 1, even though we are specifying both of them over here. But for policy targets, right, for policy targets, it means that we are able to do it from here. So if we select checkpoint number 1 and number 2, then for this one over here, it's going to install it on both of them. But since we specified checkpoint number 1 over here, it's only going to install it on that gateway number 1 over here, right? So let's go ahead and do it, and let's go ahead and install it, and let's go ahead and see what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and install it. The policy is going to install. You are going to see a progress bar down here. So let's go ahead and wait for this to be installed. So as you can see over here, we received a policy error. So it wasn't installed, it failed. So what you could do is, instead of do not clear, just go ahead and go to details. And in details, it's going to tell you why it failed. So let's go ahead and go to the checkpoint number 2, expand that bad boy, layer network rule 2, has security zones object that are not attached. That means that the checkpoint gateway number 2 does not have the zones attached to their interfaces. So we can go ahead and fix that real quick. Let's go ahead and go to gateways and servers. We already did that for checkpoint gateway number 1. So we are going to do the same for checkpoint number 2. So let's go ahead and just double click on checkpoint gateway number 2. And it's going to bring you more advanced settings or more settings for that checkpoint number 2. And we are going to go to network management, just like we did for checkpoint number 1, where we actually attach the interfaces to a zone. Let's go ahead and go and select get interfaces with topology. Accept it. So now we are going to associate a zone for Ethernet 0. So Ethernet 0, 10.1.2.3. You can see right now that it is the local network. So we can go ahead and double click on it so we can edit, or you can go ahead and press select that select that interface and press the edit button, and it's going to do the same thing just like it does for double click on it. And we're going to go to modify, and in modify, what we're going to do, we're going to specify a zone, just like we did for the checkpoint gateway number 1. So this one is going to be 1, or the inside, right? 10.1.2.3. Great. Okay. So it has been associated with security zone inside. So now Ethernet 1, right? Ethernet 1 right here is going to be associated with the outside. So outside and inside. This one has already been associated. That's why it didn't fail. So let's go ahead and go over here and go ahead and modify it. And we are going to associate this Ethernet interface with a zone. And this other zone is going to be the outside zone. Press OK. 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 And let's go ahead and publish and then install this security policy. And then it should be able to install this now. So let's go ahead and press publish and install. That's going to give me a pop-up, and we are going to, like I said, for both of them. So let's go ahead and install it. And now we can see that that policy has been successfully installed, and that's because we fixed that error, because this checkpoint gateway number 2 did not have inside zone or the outside zone attached or associated with any interface. But after we associated with the interface, we were able to publish this policy. So now if you go ahead and select checkpoint gateway number 1, you can see that it has a policy in there. And now if you go to checkpoint number 2, you can also see that we have a policy associated with it. So we have installed successfully a policy. So if you go to security policies over here, we are going to see what we have published and where we have published the policies, right? So for if you expand this management policy only applies to checkpoint gateway number 1, so that this only went to checkpoint gateway number 1. But if you want to the policy number 2, which is the inside to outside, after we associated the inside zone and the outside zone to the gateway number 2, we were able to basically publish that, and we assign it to policy targets, which was assigned to the checkpoint gateway number 1 and checkpoint gateway number 2. So that's how you are able to publish policies to multiple checkpoint gateways. Hello guys, in this video we are going to be configuring two multiple security policy. One policy is for the gateway security gateway number 1, and the other one for the security gateway number 2. And why are we doing this? Well, we are doing this so it is better to manage two different policies than one, because as you can see, since we have one policy going to multiple security gateways, then we have to specify which one is the one that has to have this policy installed. As you can see right now, we are saying that this one should only be installed on gateway number 1, and this one is for all the policy targets, and etc. So therefore, this is why we are creating multiple security policy. It is a lot better to manage. It is a lot cleaner than one we have right now. So let's go ahead and do that. The way that you could do that is by either pressing this plus button over here, or you can go over here and go to manage policy and layers, right? So, and what's going to happen is we can either just do a security policy, or you can either do an access control policy, or you can also do a threat prevention, which is the one that has IPS, antivirus, and all that blades. But the one that we're going to be focusing on this video is going to be just the access control policy. So let's go ahead and go to the top left. We are going to press the manage policies. So we are going to create two policies. The first one, the way that you do that is by, you can press this new button, and it is going to give you another window. Over here we are going to go ahead and name that. Let's go ahead and name it policy gateway 2. And over here you can either check if you have more blades enabled. We only have the threat prevention, which is the IPS, antibots, antivirus, and threat emulation. If you had quality of service, you could also, if you had quality of service enabled, you can also do that in here, right? But we don't have it, so we are going to leave this as the default. And then installation targets. This is very important. Over here, it is specifying all gateways. We just want to specify for gateway number 2. So let's go ahead and select specific gateways. Go ahead and press a plus button. And you can go ahead and select gateway number 2. But I did something wrong, because what we want to do actually is we want to, yes, exit and lose. What we want to do is we want to go ahead and clone this one that we have already. So if you go ahead and right click on it, go to actions, you want to go ahead and clone this policy, and then you can go ahead and rename it. So let's go ahead and rename this policy just like we name it. So policy gateway 2. Press OK. That's going to be cloning the policy package for us. So let's go ahead and give it a couple seconds, and it should, whenever it's done cloning that standard policy that we're doing, and we are just renaming it to gateway number 2, and then we are going to specify where we want it. So as you can see right now, the policy targets for this policy gateway is right now saying all gateways. So we want to go ahead, either right click on it or select that. I think if you right click on it and do edit, or if you select it and press that pen over here, you can do it as well. So let's go ahead and go to targets, and let's go ahead and specify do a specific gateways, and we only want to add the gateway number 2, which I named it 22. I don't know why, but that's fine. This is for checkpoint gateway 2. Press OK. And then what we're going to be doing is we are going to be renaming the standard policy. So this one right here If you right click on it, let's go ahead and edit. And we are going to be renaming it, and we are going to be using this for the policy gateway number 1. Threat prevention, that's fine. That's the installation targets, specific gateways, plus. Let's go ahead and go to checkpoint gateway number 1. Okay, and there we go. Close that. So as you can see now, we have multiple policies. We have policy. I need to rename this policy. So if we go to over here, manage policies, I think I put 2. No, it is policy. No, it is fine. I thought I put 2 eyes, but it's only 1 eye. Okay, that's fine. So now if you take a look at policy gateway number 2, which is a clone from policy gateway number 1, which was named standard before, you can see that we have policies like the management policy. It is only going for the CheckPoint gateway. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and change this policy, and we want to make sure that we are adding the Windows device over here, management host number 2. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and edit this policy. We can go ahead and remove that those 2 objects. And what we want to do is we want to add a new object, which is going to be that's the management host 2. So we can go ahead and create a new host, and it's going to be management host 2. IP address is 10.1.2.1. Press OK. That's fine. There you go, management host number 2. So the destination is either going to be checkpoint gateway 2 or checkpoint gateway 1. That's fine, because it's either if you're going from this device to this device or from this device to this device. I wanted to allow it, so that's great. And install on, we can go ahead and just remove that, and let's leave it as policy targets. That's fine. Now let's go ahead and go down here, and we want to go ahead and remove management host, because the management host, we're removing it because it's only going to be installed checkpoint gateway number 2. So therefore, the only thing in the local network is this Windows device, and not this management host number 1, right? Okay. And we need to remove this one right here because we don't have a management server on this side. We only have it on this side. So therefore, we want to go ahead and get rid of that rule. So delete. Yes. And that should be good. Then this one applies for both of them. So we can go ahead and leave that in here. So that is great. So if we go to policy gateway number 1, we are going to leave this as default. We can just go ahead and, instead of being checkpoint gateway number 1, we can just remove it, because it is still going to go to checkpoint gateway number 1, since the only policy that this one is set to apply or to be installed is on checkpoint gateway number 1. And this one applies for both of them, because remember in the previous video we did the inside to outside for both firewalls. So you can see it right here. It looks good. So that should work. Gateway number 1, inline policy, HTTPS and SSH. So this is looking good. So what we could do now is go ahead and publish our configuration. So we can put a lock, publish error, resolve the error shown in the pane. So let's go ahead and see what's going on. Unique name. So 2 host management hosts exist. Okay. So what we need to do, we need to go to objects and remove at least one of them. Objects. That's because I have 2 hosts with the same names. So there we go. Let's go ahead and delete. Let's go ahead and delete this one. Is it gonna let me delete this one? Yes. It is being used. So let's go ahead and delete the other one. It's probably going to say that it's being used too. So show me where it's being used. It is being used in gateways. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete that from. Why is this saying? Yeah, it is in here. So let's go ahead and remove it from here, because we don't know which one we are using. Remove it from here. and then it is also being used over here. Oh, I know why. Okay, this is because of this one over here is 10.1.1.4. Okay, so let's go ahead, and if we go over here, select the one that's 10.1.1.4. let's go ahead and say, let's go ahead and rename it, edit, and I want to rename it to 1.2. So 1.2 is going to be this one, and 1.1 is going to be this one. So we can go ahead and rename this host over here, edit to management host 1.1. Press OK. There we go, 1.1, 1.2. So 1.1 and 1.2 is, this one is 1.1, this one is 1.1, and this one is 1.1 and 1.2, and this one is going to be .2. It was because they had the same name. So this Windows device had the same name as this one, so we just change it to 1.2. Okay, so that is great. Let's go ahead and go to that policy and apply it where it says any. We want to go ahead and add this one, which is the 10.1.2.1. and then for over here we are going to add 10.1.2.1. Great, so that is looking good. Let's go ahead and try to publish again. It shouldn't give us that error anymore. So what we're going to do now is that after we publish our changes, then we are going to go ahead and install each policy. So whenever you click on install policy, it's going to ask you which one you want to install. So let's go ahead and go install policy. Since we have multiple policies now, it's going to ask you which one you want to apply. I want to install the gateway number 1, which is only going for checkpoint gateway number 1, as you can see right now, because we specify that on that policy. But if you want to change that target, you can go ahead and change that target or policy target over here. But we are going to keep it like that. So let's go ahead and install policy number 1. It has been installed, and now we are going to go ahead and install the other policy, which is policy number 2. And it's going to give an error saying that you are about to override the current policy gateway number 2 for this gateways, but that's fine. Because we need to override the policy, because the policy that needs to be installed on this firewall is the policy checkpoint, or the policy underscore gateway number 2. And the last policy has been successfully installed. So that's how you create multiple policies, why you create multiple policies, and how you edit how you clone a policy, and how you get to manage the policies. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.